Right, so Ed, do you want to introduce the podcast today?
Sure. Welcome to OJ and BC with plus 40 Thor. I am your host. He is your host. We are your hosts. We're starting a podcast.
Dun 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 dun. I can't do this anymore.
Today, we are going to be talking about Hogwarts houses. Different types of houses that are associated with Hogwarts, but more importantly, do we think we fit in a certain group? Do we know we fit in a certain group? And also, do we think that certain characters belong to houses? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's kick things off. What house are you?
I'm in Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw through and through, you already know. I mean, I was kind of wishing for Gryffindor to start, but I don't mind Ravenclaw.
I think that right. I'm going to be in a lot of people's unpopular opinion right here, but I think Gryffindor is way overrated.
It is because it's kind of the main house of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, everyone wants to be in Harry Potter's house, you know.
Pretty much. Everyone wants to be in the same house as Harry Potter, and it's like you're saying, it's the focus of the movie, so you're seeing it from the Gryffindor's perspective so much. But I always think it's funny when you have some people who've taken like the Pottermore quiz, and those who haven't, like, please take the quiz because it's so much fun. They give you like scenarios and like test your character and everything. But yeah, when they give you the quiz and then you find out, it's funny how people go from like being Gryffindor or hoping for Gryffindor to then being like fiercely like Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, and I just think it's so funny because like, these people get so like into it. I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't exclude us because we totally get into it as well, but
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny that you'll have someone who's like, oh yeah, Gryffindor, and then they find out they're like Ravenclaw like yourself, and they're like, yeah, I see it now. And then they go back and watch the films like from a lot more of a different perspective, so to speak.
I'm not gonna lie, I did take the quiz twice just to make sure. both times Ravenclaw.
What was it? My one of my siblings actually said that they took the quiz in hopes, like so they did it the first time in hopes of getting Gryffindor.
Yeah.
They didn't, so they went back again and answered it honestly. And ironically, they still didn't get Gryffindor, and I'm like, well, there you go. It's just so funny, but like, yeah. So Ravenclaw, like, do you know the characteristics of your house? Do you know the
Ravenclaw, the smart types, the booky ones, the clever ones,
yeah.
that very not necessarily ambitious. That's more of the other houses, just the smart ones, let's say.
Yeah, very logistical, very orientated towards knowledge and logic.
Yeah.
More than anything else, but like, not necessarily meaning that that's not completely dismissive of emotion, but more that that's the focus of the house. Is very much geared towards building on their knowledge, advancing through, and everything like that. So you might have a lot of people who fit in this house for the reason that they're very intelligent people, very logical thinkers, and upholds of knowledge in different ways. But yeah, I think Ravenclaw is probably the one that is one of the more underrepresented ones in the movie, if I'm honest.
I feel like the only time it was like made to seem important was in Deathly Hallows Part 2, where they had to find the crown of Ravener. Is it Ravener? Ravenclaw?
Yeah,
Ravener.
Yeah, so,
Ravener.
like, missing diadem of one of the four founders of the house, and it turned out like her niece. I want to say her niece, or is it Dara?
Either way, she was a Ravenclaw.
Yeah, and she took it. Yeah, and then along came Tom Riddle, and that boy did his shit.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's like, oh, I can die. Oh man.
So Ed, would you like to reveal to the people what house you are in?
Oh, I'm a Slytherin through and through.
Ooh.
Through. Like
Okay, so your man's proud of it as well. Okay.
oh, absolutely, man, absolutely. When I found out like what, because that's the thing. I think like Slytherin is one of the most what's the best way to describe it? It's
Stigmatized.
stigmatized is a great word for it. Yeah, it's the most stigmatized and most misunderstood.
Yeah.
Most of the people who are evil seem to come from it. But I think because one of its values is ambition,
Yeah.
drive, determination. And this is why I think like Gryffindor and Slytherin often
Very close together, yeah.
are close because sometimes it overlaps with courage, like drive and stuff like that, and ambition sometimes overlaps with loyalty and other traits that Gryffindors do share, but they're different sides of the household. But yeah, I'm very much Slytherin, and it was funny because like I was like a lot of people, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll totally get Gryffindor. Like, no, Slytherin. So like, oh, okay, and I was kind of, I don't know what to expect from this, but yeah, okay, fair enough, Slytherin. And I did so many years later again and got Slytherin again. So I was like, oh, okay, fair enough, I'll take on board. But I think because there's so many bad guys who come from Slytherin, I mean, like Salazar made massive, very terrible reasons, basically mass genocide of us. Big fat,
Yeah.
And then a lot of people's Death Eaters and some of the worst Death Eaters come from Slytherin. Not to say there wasn't bad people from places like Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, or whatever, or bads, like there weren't any bad people from different houses, but you do see a lot of Slytherin in there. There's a big chunk of it.
I mean, yeah, once you get past all the stigma, Slytherin's not all that bad. Like, it's probably a good house to be in because you've got brains and you know how to use it. You know how to use it sneakily, cleverly. You know how to get stuff done.
This is true. Like, I think it's a case of because there's a lot of people who have global domination on the brain. They're seen as.
I mean, don't we all? Like,
yeah,
don't
exactly. Yeah, bro, you're a bit of Slytherin in you as well.
You already know, man. You already know.
Kids, if you have dreams of global domination, just know that Slytherin House is now taking applications via the sorting hats. But yeah,
all done online now because of Corona.
oh yeah, no, all done online now, so it's COVID safe. Like, don't worry about it. But I'm surprised the magicians haven't come up with a cure yet.
That's true. That's true. Or maybe they did. Maybe that's where the vaccine came from. You never know.
Oh well, yeah. That's a little bit overlap there. Never know.
So, what do you think about Hufflepuff, the nice guys?
I honestly love Hufflepuff people. Like, one of my best friends is from Hufflepuff. Like, and
hey, bro, I'm from Ravenclaw, no Hufflepuff. Okay, that's
like Joseph just like starting himself into there. No, it's Ravenclaw. I told you. This is the old brain kicking in. But yeah, she's from Hufflepuff, and I know it's funny because I've had so many friends who have been either from Hufflepuff or from Ravenclaw. So I find that hilarious. Like, because like back when I was in college, like I had two mates who were somewhat of Harry Potter fans, not as much as us, of course, but I got them to take the test, and one got Ravenclaw unsurprisingly, and the other got Hufflepuff unsurprisingly as well. So, and then as that theme has continued, and I've introduced this to more and more people, there's a consistent theme of the people I've introduced have either been from Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff. I haven't had one person who didn't do it on purpose, because like some people, if they know what the house's values are, they can kind of wiggle their way into it. But yeah, that when they answer it correctly, like when they answer it truthfully for themselves, they end up getting Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff. But I think Hufflepuff, honestly, other than Ravenclaw's so underrepresented in the movies. Not so much in the books because they have a little bit more substantial. But I think other than the Goblet of Fire, where you get to see Cedric Diggory, like who is like the face of Hufflepuff, I think that house is always like you're saying. It's the nice guys, the bubbly lot, the I'll have hugs please lot.
Have you seen that meme where it's Harry looking down at his son on the train in the last scene of part 2, and when it was like, Dad, what if I'm in Hufflepuff? Then he's like, Albus Severus Potter, then don't bother coming home.
What would you know? He ended up in Slytherin.
Surprise, surprise.
Motherfucker.
So let's talk about Cedric, actually. Yeah. Personally, I think that boy screams Gryffindor.
I don't think he screams Gryffindor.
Explain.
Well, when we think about some of the house's values, he epitomizes some of the best parts of Hufflepuff, like loyalty, and a couple of other ones. But I think the thing that a lot of people get about Gryffindor is that they always lead with courage. Like courage seems to be like the big one that a lot of people from Gryffindor or people who know about the values from Gryffindor always gravitate towards courage. And Cedric has that, but it's about the dominating aspects within someone and also how they perform themselves. And if you notice a lot of Cedric's traits, he is actually very loyal to his family, his friends, and also he earns trust like really well with others. He's a very people person, you know. And even when Harry is like Mr. Unpopular, he actually hears him out. He gives him the time of day, you know.
True.
Especially when a lot of other Hufflepuffs didn't, you know. So I think Cedric was probably the best of, if that makes sense. Although, like I'm saying, is that even though he has dominant personalities, doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have courage. Doesn't mean he doesn't have ambition or degree of logic. I think he does, but I think he has a very dominant sense towards loyalty and respect, and also to loving others. You know.
I get you. To be honest, the main reason I put him in Gryffindor personally is because he had a lot of the same stuff people in Gryffindor and Slytherin had. Like, for example, Draco and Harry, they were very similar, but the way they used their power, their popularity, their bravery, Draco used it one way, Harry used it one way, the Gryffindor way. And the way Cedric used his power, because he knew he was the big man in Hufflepuff, the way he used that popularity, that influence, was kind of Gryffindor, if you get what I mean.
I get you. There's a leadership quality that binds all three of them together. I agree with that for sure. I think that's where a lot of times when you look at the 4 founders and the principles that they base theirs on, they all kind of had to have some degree of leadership, if that makes sense.
True.
In their own way, you know? So I can see where you're coming from, though. They are very similar. They are very strong personalities with, like you're saying, there's some power development with popularity in politics. Yeah, I think leadership's a big one that ties them all into it. And people look up to them, you know? Very much so.
Okay, let me go on to this. I struggle with how, to the degree of how the Sorting Hat could tell the future. Because when I look at people like Hermione, if when she was getting sorted, based on how she was then, I'd have said Ravenclaw. Same thing with Neville Longbottom. How he was then, I'd have said Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, could the Sorting Hat tell the future that well that I could sort them into those places?
Arguably, that's true. Like, I think with the Sorting Hat, more than anything, a lot of people didn't realize how much choice they had.
That's true.
I think there is part it gauging who you were, where did your values lie as a person, as a personality, and where your strengths were more than anything else. And you're right. I think Hermione represented Ravenclaw specifically. Maybe it saw something else, you know, that said, okay, this person has a little bit in her that could give towards bravery or courage, you know. Especially when you think about it, she comes from a different world and she had to step into this one.
Yeah.
and take it on so heartedly. You know, you can say that with a lot of the Muggleborns in Harry Potter, but I would say with Hermione specifically, she was such an intelligent girl in her land before. She could have easily said, "Nah, I'm just going to go to a normal school." You know.
True. True.
Either that, or part of her in her head subconsciously was like, I'd rather go to Gryffindor, you know?
True.
I think a lot of people underestimate how much choice they have in that.
That is a very good point.
You know?
So before you got your house test and all that, if you were in the place, like obviously if I dreamed it, what would be your choice in that moment?
So if you put the hat on me.
On your head in the Great Hall.
So are we saying this as a Harry Potter fan, or are we saying this as the logic brain? Like, how are we answering this? Because this is a tricky one.
As you yourself, a Harry Potter fan, assuming you weren't tested, you didn't know you were in Slytherin.
Okay. I'd probably say Slytherin anyway, if I'm honest.
Okay.
The big reason why is because I'm very driven. Anybody who knows me, who knows like what I do, who I am, knows I'm a very competitive, very driven, ambitious individual. So I gravitate more towards that house than I do towards others. I'd probably say the second one would be maybe Gryffindor. But after that, then it would be Hufflepuff, then it would be Ravenclaw. Some people might disagree, like depending, like some people know me.
I get you.
I would say out of the values of the house itself and the houses, I would say it would definitely be Slytherin, you know.
I get you.
I'd be itching to get after too much.
Now, for me, I'd love to say Gryffindor first, but I think Ravenclaw would actually be a fairly good fit for me for my first choice. Like, if I knew what I did now without having taken the quiz, I'd probably say, without my love for Gryffindor, because you know Harry Potter and all that, I'd probably say Ravenclaw first.
Yes.
Slightly followed by maybe Hufflepuff. I think I'm that guy, that Hufflepuff guy. Then I'd probably go. I'd go Gryffindor third, because we'd all like to think we got courage and all that. And I think I do, but I just don't think I have it that much to be in Gryffindor, you know.
It's like in a tiered system, isn't it? Because we all have some semblance of each house, but it's more what ones are the most dominant and what are our strengths, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of similar to any personality test that we have nowadays. Like it's the same with, and I think that's why the houses themselves have such a long-term stance for a lot of people in popular culture, is that there's a bit of everybody in there.
Yeah.
You yourself can make the decision, but also you can go and find out based on your personality type where you fit or where you go.
What do you think about? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Luna was in Ravenclaw, correct?
He was in Ravenclaw, yeah, that's for sure.
To me, she was just a wonder for me. I don't think she should have been a Ravenclaw, but at the same time, I do not know what house. Maybe a Hufflepuff, but I don't know. She baffles me.
I think she is like a bit of a emergence of two different houses, isn't she? She's like very smart, very cunning. Like she's she's so under the table with a lot of stuff that she comes out with, the philosophical, the direct. And she'll notice things that almost no one else does. So that's definitely a Ravenclaw trait. But then, like you say, she's very interpersonal. She sees people and can understand people. It is kind of incredible, you know. It's like, whoa, there's such a blend going on here. She's an enigma, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think one of the reasons why she's so popular is because so many people see themselves in Luna or know someone who is like Luna, you know.
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny how she was introduced so late, because it's like trying to describe this person from year 1 to year 4 in Harry Potter, and you're like, you couldn't, because like this is someone who didn't really find themselves until a little bit later, you know, or maybe they always knew themselves, but no one really gave them the time of day. You know?
Yeah, I get you.
But you see that, unfortunately, everybody was called her Looney Lovegood. Thing. I was like, oh no, I know those feels.
She was definitely likable. She was a very likable character. Definitely. But I have a theory about what's he called? Percy Prefect, Percy Weasley.
Oh yeah, Percy, yeah.
I think he chose to be in Gryffindor 100%. Because when I look at him, I just think Slytherin. Like, not in a bad way, without the stigma. I feel like he's got that ambition, that drive, that cunningness. But I feel like he only chose to be in Gryffindor because his family, older brothers, mom and dad, all in Gryffindor. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in Gryffindor, that kind of thing, you know.
That's very true, actually. Like, I never really thought of it like that. That's interesting because you're right in that he wanted to play the political game. He became Fauch's like Cornelius Fudge's assistant and tried to like climb up in the ministry. So you're right, he did have ambition. That's actually really interesting. What do I think about that? Yeah, I'd be yeah, that's a good show for sure.
Yeah, let's move on to a big one, a very debated one. I feel like Severus Snape, the man himself.
Totally, like I
feel like up until the last movie, people were like, "Oh, he's definitely Slytherin, like 100%." But then when it came to the whole thing about him liking thingy Harry's mum and all that, that's when it came into, oh, he's got this soft inside and all that.
Lily, yeah.
And when you think about it, he is not that ambitious when you think about it. Because although he really wanted to be, the defense against dark arts teacher, that seemed like something more of a preference rather than ambition. He never striked me as the ambitious, I need to get this, I need to get that character, you know.
I think that's because we saw most of him as an adult or anything else.
True.
Because when he was a lot younger and the Marauders was a thing, and he was friends with Lily before they knew anybody. I think he saw himself as more of a, and this is going off of the books, that he kind of saw himself in more of a, I can really push myself kind of way. I wouldn't say in a competitive sense, but more pushing the boundaries because he had such a natural ability with magic, so much so than most in his year group. And he was often bullied as a result of that, you know,
True.
because he was seen as like the nerd. He wanted to
all been there.
And I think as well with his friendship with Lily, which then he wanted it to be a little bit more than that. But forever friend zone. But yeah, I think that gave him a little bit of drive as well. Like he wanted to see more from that, you know, and then to develop further as a wizard, you know. But I think you're right. I think his relationship with Lily really opens that third dimension to Snape that makes you realize, oh yeah, he was a person. he wasn't a cackling bad guy. And the worst part is that you almost felt guilty for hating him because you're like, oh.
J.K. Rowling did a good job on that. Honestly, great job on that. 100%.
And the fact she told Alan Rickman, God bless him, she told him what the ending was going to be while they were filming. Like, so he was the only one who knew.
Oh, so the rest didn't know. They hadn't seen the scripts.
No. So this is going back to like year 2, year 3. Like,
okay, damn. So the whole way filming, thingy, Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire.
He knew. Oh. He knew. So that's why when you go back and look and you see some of his roles, he actually did them in a way that you're like, oh my God. You know, like he actually did, he was told. Because I think JK basically said that, oh, I need to put this in. And I trust Alan. So, yeah, it's funny because then everybody was like, Alan seems like he knows something. Most people like he knows something, and it turns out he did.
He did, yeah.
Okay, took him aside and said, "By the way, this is what happened." You know, like, oh my goodness, you know.
I get you.
But yeah, I think you're right. He's more than just a house in that moment because you realize that Slytherins can fall in love, Ravenclaws can fall in love. Maybe not all in the same way. Maybe some of them others. I think that's people as well. Kind of ties us back into why pop culture loves Hogwarts and Harry Potter so much.
Yeah,
we're all very different in how we gravitate towards certain individuals, even if we're determined by status, whatever it is. So I think you're right. It's the most un-Slytherin that you see us Slytherin.
Exactly.
Like it's that moment where he sees Lily dead, where oh man,
Breaks your heart, man.
it breaks your heart, and to find out that he was the good guy all along and let everybody hate him. He let them all hate him.
He was a damn good double agent, I will say that.
Absolutely, man. Like it's just and he did it all for Lily. Jesus.
Oh, honestly.
My goodness. Yes, so the most un-Slytherin Slytherin. I would say, yeah, for sure.
Actually, let's talk about Dumbledore, sticking to the theme of teachers.
Ah, yes.
Dumbledore he's Gryffindor, which at times makes sense. But then we don't see too much into his past.
Yeah.
Too much, like, not as much as I'd want to see. Because when you see or read snippets of his past, you think that's a little bit of Slytherin, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Especially when we meet his brother.
That's true. What's his face? What's it? It begins with an R, doesn't it? His brother's name.
Oh, I can't remember. It's just the guy with the beard, number 2.
Oh, that's right. Look at it. Aberforth? Was it Aberforth?
Let's go with Aberforth.
Aberforth. Yeah, Aberforth. I think it was Aberforth. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Aberforth. I looked it up. Aberforth.
Aberforth. Right. Yeah. So I don't know why I said R, but yeah, like Gryffindor. Because again, I would have put Dumbledore and Ravenclaw.
Ooh, okay.
I would put him in Ravenclaw for some reason. I think it's his literacy, his ability to stand with logic. I think more towards his later years, to be fair. Because when you hear about his early years and the Voldemort, before Voldemort, him and Grindelwald nearly became, you're like, oh, wow, right, okay. But yeah, when you think about Dumbledore's past, you suddenly think, okay, maybe he was a little bit Gryffindor, you know?
To be fair, he's a good mix. I'd say he's a good mix.
He's a good mix.
A very good mix.
He's almost like Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, you know? He's in between, but then he has that ambition. Well,
yeah.
Would it be ambition because he was technically manipulated into that?
Ooh.
He only did it because he loved Grindelwald.
That's a good point. I mean, that's where the bloodlines are.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
This is where it's like, oh, it comes out in dominant traits, but they seem like people that lost them. And I think we should also talk about people who just suit their houses to a T, because McGonagall's the first one that comes to mind. I'm like, yeah,
honestly, I see a lot of Ravenclaw in McGonagall, but no doubt she's Gryffindor.
Yeah, the moment she speaks, like Gryffindor.
No, honestly, I love that character. I saw something on Instagram. She was talking to Hagrid in a meme, and she was like, "Oh, sometimes I just stick a random cat in the class to watch them." Oh my god! Imagine. And then in the meme, the cat ended up cuddling Ron, and then she got called into Dumbledore's office for some safeguarding rubbish.
Was it on Ron's lap or something? Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh. No, but one scene I always remember in the movie was when she was like, "Oh, I always wanted to do that," when she got all the knights and stuff around.
Yeah.
Oh god, I love that scene, man.
Spell.
Just McGonagall. She's very fair. She's a very just person, you know.
Yeah.
Like, she seems strict, but like you can't argue with the woman. She has everything on point.
That's true, man. Absolutely. Like she reminds me of every teacher, female strong figure that I think anyone will have come across in their life. You know, that's who she kind of encompasses. Like, not the mother, not the direct line of authority in the female in the household, but more the mentor, the teacher, the maybe an aspiring aunt or something. But she kind of encompasses those characters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? Very authoritative, in that she demands respect, but also she rewards those who are loyal and those who follow through. You know. Very much so, but like you're saying, she's a bit of a nippy sweetie, you know. You wouldn't piss her off.
No, you would not.
Definitely not.
So any other characters you think that fit into the houses?
That fit like holy hell into their houses.
Indeed.
Voldemort.
That is a good point.
The man
He shall not be named.
He was so driven, and it's so funny because I think it's funny how we've talked so much along a similar line of Snape, Dumbledore, a lot of these other characters that you think about it, because one thing ties them a lot together, and that's love, like, which is spelled throughout the books, is love, love, love. You know, love saved Harry. Love is what drove Dumbledore to make his gravest mistakes. Love is what reinforced Snape. But then when you look at the demissant of love for Voldemort, it gave him this sole purpose, objectivity. Like the moment he found out, why am I like this? He was completely devoid and he was incapable, you know?
True.
And it's funny because then you see he went on to nearly conquer the wizarding world.
And the rest of the world, actually.
And the rest of it, exactly. He wasn't going to stop at wizarding. He was going to go beyond that. And beyond that. But yeah.
I'll just say he was very Slytherin. Very Slytherin.
Very Slytherin.
What are we thinking about? What are we thinking about Umbridge? I don't actually know which house she's in. Is it Slytherin? Slytherin. Okay.
Again, driven.
She was just annoying, man. Like, she's just that one you want to punch, you know.
She was a horrible human being. The stuff that she did.
Honestly.
But it wasn't at no. What was it? It's not at all costs. It's at anyone's expense that she had her ambitions. You know, like, what was it in the books? This is one of the most horrible thing I heard about a character in the Harry Potter books, is that she had a father who was in the ministry, and when she got to such a status, she told him that she basically blackmailed him, like, I will pay you, like, to go and not mention that I am of any relations to you, you know, and I can just change my name. And then that's how she got the Gaunt necklace, or sorry, the Slytherin, the House of Slytherin necklace. And she basically said, oh yes, it's an old family heirloom. And she tried to relate herself back to a pure bloodline. But she was actually just related to the janitor, pretty much, you know. But she got rid of him and got him out of the way so that, like, there's no one that can make the connection. But, just shows you the disgusting.
No, I get you. Like, you know how much I hate Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. Ramsay's here. Umbridge isn't that far behind.
Oh,
she's not that far behind.
I was going to say Ramsay's just a different bugger altogether. You thought to yourself, there's no way that George R.R. Martin could create a more vile, more disgusting character than Joffrey. In walks Ramsay Bolton, and you're like, oh, okay.
Think again.
Okay, I was wrong.
Oh my god! I'm telling you, when he died, I really wanted to throw a few punches in. I'm telling you,
the same as
I saw that actor in real life. I was actually punching at the screen. I was like, come on, uppercut him, come on. Like, honestly.
That's like something that I could see your mom doing as well. Like, she could get into it. Like, oh yeah,
just get a few punches in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, honestly.
Right, you see the characters go through all that pain to then see him, and it's like justice.
And it, man, it's satisfying.
Yes, it's that long-term gratification paying off for
Exactly.
sure. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's absolutely for sure. But yeah, Ramsey is scum. Umbridge is scum, but they almost have like no redeemable qualities either. Like when she was like getting people to self-harm, like themselves, that was awful. I was like, holy hell. Like what vile person does that? And then you realize, oh, there was people who did that in the past, you know, like not to like scratch themselves or whatever, but they belted, they caned, they, you know. And I know that like J.K. was like basically talking about like some of the worst people that she's ever like encountered when she was in education. That was like Umbridge was an encompassment of that, which I was like, holy hell! Thank God we only got a year of Umbridge in Hogwarts. I could not handle that person more than one book. Such a vile character.
Speaking of J.K. Rowling, you know she used to write a lot of her books in a cafe, and they kept the chair she wrote on, and they auctioned it off recently. Guess how much? I'm on Google now. I had to look this up. Guess how much it got auctioned off for?
200,000.
£283,000.
What?
For a chair, man. And look at the chair. It's not even all that. It's just a chair.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, I low-key get it, man, because I love Harry Potter. Like, that would be a sick thing to have in your Harry Potter themed room. Like, if you have the money to buy that, you definitely have a Harry Potter themed room in your house.
That's the thing. Like, I've never been the type of person to spend lavish amounts on collection items like that. You know?
I get, like, if I had the money to waste, I would. But normally at the point I am now, I want to start like an action figure collection, that kind of thing. Yeah. Nothing more than that. Maybe like I wouldn't spend more than 20 quid on an action figure. I'm not about that life. Not even 20 quid, like 15 is cutting it a bit thin as well.
Yeah. It's funny because I've got like a shelf or the wall that I have in my house of all the things that, and it's funny because I have a rule with this wall. Nothing goes on it that isn't given. I can't put anything that I bought.
Oh, okay.
So everything that's on the wall is all gifts that people have given me. And it's all, you'll see the whatchamacallit, the familiarity. It's like Marvel, DC, like
okay.
Harry Potter, like you name it, it's there. And I'm like, wow, people know me.
I'm like, you just look at it and they're like, life is good.
Yeah, I've got some pretty good people, man. You know? But what is it? Like, it's the pop ones that you guys got me. I was like, that would go right on the wall, you know? Because I've got other Thors, I've got Venom, I've got Spidey, like, it's all there, like, and it's just, yeah. I've even got, like, I remember my mom came back from Spain, she got, like, a little doll, like, wooden doll of Batman, and I was like, my goodness. And one of my, oh man, it's like one of my prize collection. This is the same mate I told you about, is in like Hufflepuff, like got me this painting of Joker, like Ledger's Joker sitting like that in a silhouette of red, and it's beautiful.
Oh my god, I can imagine. Like any painting of Joker, he might be a scary guy, but you can just do good paintings with him, you know. I go what you mean.
I'll need to take a snap at some point and send it to you, but it is beautiful, like painting. It's one of my, it's the centerpiece. So the centerpiece and the shrine of like nerd and everything else, among other things. But like someone gave me like a medieval dagger once. That was pretty fun. Yeah,
you say that like you use it. That was pretty fun. That was a good Saturday.
I hope I did. Yeah, like it's this great big wall, and it's not. I wouldn't even call it a collection. It's more like an archive, you know, like of things that people have given, you know, and I just don't buy things like that for myself, like ever.
Yeah, I get you.
So yeah, like the 283 for a chair. There's no way.
Nah, I couldn't.
That's the thing. When you think about that, you're like, you would rather buy a nice house.
Exactly.
Outright. You'd rather buy a nice house outright.
Innit, man? No mortgage or anything. Like, you're
free. Done. It's just, when you just keep thinking about it, you're like, Jesus Christ, that's the solicitor covered, that's that covered, that's that covered, that's that. But wizards don't have to worry about mortgages, so it's all good.
True. Trust me, that's going to be that one person thinking, how many Big Macs could I buy with that money? You know what I'm saying?
Like, you're probably, your blood, like, pH balance would probably back out. But
the cholesterol is going up just thinking about it, you know what I'm saying?
My sodium level's going up and my cholesterol's bad. Is that bad?
Well, it would be after that, definitely.
God. I finally found out about Caspas the other day, and I was like, if only I had a wand. If only I had a wand. Oh, that was the thing. I looked something up the other day. Like, it was just stuff about Wizarding World, and it was like a booklet of the weirdest things that they don't mention in the movies about the Wizarding World. And I was like, this will be interesting. Number 1. How do you think wizards go to the toilet?
Ooh. Well, to be fair, if you think about it, Chamber of Secrets, half the movie was in a toilet.
Yeah, exactly. So before there was toilets, what do you think they did?
A hole like the rest of us.
No.
I'm kind of scared. They just, like, would they bring it out or just make it disappear from within them?
No. As in, like, they would do it and then just go, whoop, and then there was a spell to just get rid of it.
Oh my God! No.
Like someone from Harry Potter just squatting down and then just coming back up and just saying, like, diarrhea ray.
Imagine diarrhea, man. So wait, would they have toilets then?
No, they wouldn't. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that it was before toilets, before it was an invention. Like,
ooh, okay.
That's what they did. So it's like there were so many other weird ones, but that was like top, and I was like, what the? And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, they never have mentioned that in the films. But it's like one of those, like, things that you just ask yourself, what did they do? You know, and
I've never asked myself that until now.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't either until I seen the art. Well, until I seen this big piece that went into other stuff. I was just like, yeah, I never thought of that.
Imagine
the things that you just don't think about in the wonderful and weird world of Harry Potter.
Oh, well, that is almost 45 minutes of recording. We managed to do it. We managed to talk about Harry Potter for 45 minutes.
You say that good or bad? You say that as if it was a challenge. I can keep talking for about Harry Potter. Especially because we didn't get into, like, people like Grindelwald or anything like that, or Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts.
I love him, man. He's just that protagonist, you know, just protagonist.
Did you hear about recasting?
Yes, you sent me that. Oh, that is. I can't judge because I haven't seen anything of the guy. Like, yeah. I know he starred in Polar on Netflix, but I haven't actually watched it.
True, and that's something we might talk about on the next podcast.
Stay tuned.
Exactly. Stay tuned.
This has been Drinking OJ and BC with plus FortyThor, and just like last time, you already know. And that is the end of the podcast, people. Goodbye.
Good night.